So today is kind of a thread response to Jack at the Vinyl Voyage. I say kind of because it's not exactly the challenge that Jack threw out. Jack wanted us to show 7 records across 7 different genres. Now, this is sort of a video idea that I'd previously thought of, but it had a slightly different spin on it. So I'm going to kind of amalgamate my original idea into the idea that Jack had. So first of all, I'm going to show 10 because 10 is always my magic number. So I'm not trying to, go 1 better or 3 better than everybody else that's done the thread. It's just the way my mind works. I tend to think in terms of 10. And also what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a song from each record and say that's a favourite song of mine from that genre. Now I'm not going to say each song is my literal favourite song from that genre because my favourites change every day. I'm not very good at picking all-time favourites. Some of these might count, but not necessarily. Anyway, there we go. There's the introduction. So 10 records, 10 favourite songs, 10 different genres. So the first one I'm going to do, I'm going to call this folk rock because I do think it is folk rock essentially. And I'm going to show the album Shazam from The Move. This was their second album. This is the great twofer I have of their first 2 albums. And the song I'll pick from this is a cover version of the Tom Paxton song, The Last Thing on My Mind, which is a folk song. And The Move on this record turn it into this, I think it's a sort of maybe 6 or 7 minute sprawling epic with a big long psychedelic guitar solo from Roy Wood. And lots of different vocal effects, phasing effects on Carl Wayne's voice. It's an extraordinary piece of work, a track that I absolutely loved back in the 90s, lived in my car for a long time. It's very long, it's very involved. I'd say it's definitely, it could almost be called psych rock folk really, but we'll call it folk rock. So there we go, the first one, The Move and The Last Thing on My Mind by Tom Paxton. And then for the second one, we'll just go all out psych. Now this is a bit of an obvious choice, but I had to pick this. I'm just going to go with Pink Floyd and the first song on their first album, Astronomy Domine. Now I saw Nick Mason's Pink Floyd sort of tribute band last year, Source Full of Secrets, and they opened the show with this, and I literally had tears pouring down my face as they launched into it. This song and this record go way back into the mist of time for me, and my dad bought me this record and he passed away a couple of years ago, and it was an amazing experience when I saw Nick's Floyd play and they came on and did this song with all these psychedelic 60s lighting effects. It was a very emotional experience. I love this track. I love the pounding drums. I love Syd Barrett's strange astral plane lyrics, which reference lots of different planets. It's a sort of astral plane stroke astronomical song really, with lots of radio effects and static and all kinds of mad things going on. Quite Hendrix inspired probably, or maybe Hendrix was inspired by this, who knows. Anyway, it's a great track, Astronomy Domine, and I'm showing this the original record that I heard it on, a nice pair. Right, third one, I'm going to go hard rock now, and this is a track which just melted my brain when I heard it back when I was 16. The opening song to the second record by the Scorpions, Speedy's Coming, written by Klaus Meine and Rudolf Schenker. Really filthy guitar sound, very brutal, very hard. My first exposure really to German heavy metal, German hard rock. Still an absolutely blistering song. Blistering is the word to describe the guitar sound on this track. It's quite short and sweet, doesn't mess about, but from quite a sort of proggy album, or at least a progressive album really. The Scorpions hadn't quite worked out their sound by this point, but the opening track, Speedy's Coming, is the dog's bollocks really of German heavy metal. Check it out if you don't know it already. Right, prog rock next, and I suppose this is quite an obvious choice really, but I thought I would go for something off this. This is my favourite King Crimson record, possibly my favourite prog album. This is Red, of course. Now I could have gone for One More Red Nightmare, which is the third song on side 1, but instead I'm going to go with what I think is the more spectacular song, that being Starless, the final track on side 2, which is 12 minutes 18 seconds long, and if you've heard it, you know what it's like. It's big, it's mad, it's scary, it's dark, it's very, very progressive, but it's got a great groove to it. Elements of free jazz and classical coming in, and I love the way it breaks down into this sort of slow, moody, ominous breakdown section, and then gradually builds itself back up with Bill Bruford's amazing, you'd almost call it musique concrète, kind of strange percussive sounds, made up instruments, clanking metal and all kinds of weird things going on, and building up into this absolutely blistering finale. with saxophone. I think it's saxophone, is it? Mel Collins, Ian MacDonald on sax. Great track, really, really great. Timeless, or rather starless, by Crim. Wanted to show a bit of reggae, because I very rarely talk about reggae on this channel, mainly because I don't have a great deal of it in my collection, on vinyl anyway, and also I don't really know a huge amount about it, and I'm scared of making a mistake, so hopefully this is reggae. We'll see. I'm going to go with the album, or rather the song, Uptown Babies, which is by Max Romeo and the Upsetters, from this great album, War in a Babylon, which is, I think, one of 3 records that Lee Scratch Perry produced in the mid-1970s. They come as a trio of records. Socially conscious reggae, I suppose you'd describe it. Uptown Babies is a fantastic song. It is written by Max Romeo, and essentially it's all about the fact that the Uptown Babies on the right side of the tracks have a great life, not like the kids who live in the ghettos and the slums. So definitely a very political song, a song with a social conscience to it, but it's got a great tune, a great Lee Scratch Perry production, and it's just a song that really appealed to me. I discovered it back in the early noughties when I got this album on CD, and that track just leapt out at me as being lyrically really great, really incisive, but a great production and a great hook to it. So we'll have that for reggae. Uptown Babies by Max Romeo and the Upsetters. Right, next one, disco. I couldn't resist this one. I'm going to go with this. This is my favourite disco song of all time, mainly because when both my sons were young, when they were both, really, really tiny, I used to throw them around the room to it. We used to dance around the room to this song. There's a 5-year gap between them, so I did it once, and then 5 years later I did it again, and it was the same song each time. So this is Sheila and B Devotion, and the song I'm going to pick from this is, of course, Spacer, which I first discovered actually on a disco CD compilation. What a great track. Sheila was a French singer. She only made 2 records with this particular unit. This one is a really good album, actually. It's produced by Nile Rodgers. Was it just Chic, in fact? Yeah, it's Chic. Bernard Edwards and Nile Rodgers produce it. It's a really, really good disco album, but Spacer is an absolute classic, a disco classic. Absolutely love it. So I thought I would have that for disco. Okay, New Wave. I thought I'd go for this. I think this is a really strong album closer from the first record by the Pretenders. Thought I'd go for the great track, Mystery Achievement, which really ends the album in grand style. Brilliant guitar work from the great James Honeyman Scott, of course. Great ensemble performance on that. Great lyrics, great vocals. It's the Pretenders, early Pretenders, you can't beat. And of course, this is the record that's got a couple of really famous songs on it. Brass in Pocket is on here, of course. Their cover of Stop Your Sobbing. Strong effort, produced by Chris Thomas. But we'll go for the grand finale, Mystery Achievement. Okay, we've got 3 more, I think. Moving on to post-punk, and I'm going to show Wire for this, and rarely for me, I'm going to show a 12-inch single. So this is Eardrum Buzz, and it's from one of the records they made in the 80s. I think it might be on The Ideal Copy, or it might be on one of the other 2. I can't quite remember, but anyway. This is a live version of it, essentially, recorded live in either Chicago or Portugal, one of the 2. And it's a more commercial version, strangely enough. It's got a more accessible version of the song than the one that came from the album. It has more of a sense of pop dynamics, really, a stronger hook to it. It's a really great track. Wire did some really interesting records in the 80s. It was a strange amalgamation, really. It was a mixture of post-punk, industrial music, dream pop. So you could have this as a variety of different genres, but I'll go with post-punk because that's more of an umbrella term, I suppose. And at this point, Wire was certainly a post-punk band. They probably always had been, actually, even back to their first album, Pink Flag. They were doing post-punk while everybody else was still doing punk. Kidney Bingos is also on here, which is another great favourite of mine. But I prefer the studio version of that from the album It's Beginning to and Back Again. No, I Bet As a Cup Until It Struck. Kidney Bingo is also a really good song from Wire. But if you've not heard this live version, of eardrum buzz. Check it out, it's great. Right, now for soul music, I ummed and ahed a bit about this one. I was going to pick something really classic, something by Otis Redding or Al Green, something like that. But in the event, I've decided to go a little bit less obvious and a tiny, tiny little bit more modern. Although I say modern, it's still decades old. I'm going to go for something from this album, from Womack and Womack, from I think 1983, and of course this is the brother and sister duo of Cecil and Linda Womack. Really good album actually. It's called Love Wars. Might have been their debut album. Very strong sequence of tracks overall. It is 1983, so it is very slightly, it's not compromised by the 80s production, but it does have that smooth 80s production sound, but it's still really good. It's a great album, it's got some really good players on it. The track I'm going to pick off this is the last song on side 1. It's called TKO, which was originally, the original version of it was called Love TKO, and it was written for a soul singer called David Oliver. TKO is a technical term, it's a boxing term actually. I think it refers to the moment in a boxing match when the referee has to suspend the fight because one of the players is unable to defend himself. So essentially the song uses that as a sort of analogy, you know, like a sparring romantic relationship. Really clever idea for a lyric, great tune, really well sung. The song is more associated actually with Teddy Pendergrass, who did a version of it later on. And in fact, his version got used in a video game. I think it was one of the Grand Theft Auto games years later, I think. But the original is a great track. As I said, this album is a really, really strong album, and you can pick this up for next to nothing. I got this for a couple of pounds. Very strong, and obviously, you know, a great songwriting team and a great vocal duo in Cecil and Linda Womack. So check that out if you've not heard it. TKO. And it's from Love Wars. I didn't show any yacht rock actually. I was tempted to show a bit of yacht rock, and Prefab Sprout maybe were the heirs to that tradition really. But we'll call this Sophisti-pop, which is a genre which I think they pioneered really, and from their great sprawling record, Jordan the Comeback, which really should have been a double album. Remarkably, it's not a double album on the vinyl release, it's just on one record with about 83 tracks on it. Now I could have gone for any number of tracks from this, but I'm actually going to go for the opening track, Looking for Atlantis, which is a song of great optimism and great hope. You know, a sense of hope, a sense of widening horizons, beautiful production, great musicianship as usual from the Sprouties, wonderful lyrics from Paddy McAloon. It's a song that always lifts me up. I play this album in the autumn, funnily enough. Not quite sure why. I think it's just an association thing. I think I associate it with an autumn gone by, and I sort of dig it out around about September time and start listening to it. But Looking for Atlantis, it's a great scene setter for this record. Gets the show up and running, and it's just a wonderful song. So there we go, 10 genres, 10 records, 10 favourite songs. Hope you enjoyed that, and do check out Jack's original video. There's been quite a few responses to this, so there's more for you to check out if you want to go hunting. So thanks for watching. I shall be back soon. Take care. Bye for now.